In the ever-evolving landscape of media, few entities hold as much historical significance and cultural impact as NBC. Yet, like any purveyor of news, its journalistic path has undergone some shifts over time. But what does this path look like? Have there been media bias or objectivity controversies along the way? In this video, Biasly will examine how the network's reporting has evolved and the slant it had throughout the years. NBC, or the National Broadcasting, the oldest broadcasting network in the United States, was founded on November 15, 1926, by David Sarnoff.
It is with much pleasure that the Radio Corporation of America welcomes its licensees to a demonstration today of television broadcasting.
Sarnoff's vision was to create a national network that could reach audiences across the entire United States. This establishment marked a significant milestone in the history of broadcasting, transforming radio from a local and regional medium to a national one. Sarnoff laid the foundation for the subsequent development of television broadcasting and had a profound impact on how information and entertainment were distributed and consumed in the United States.
Well, howdy doody, Captain, and hiya, Mr. Smith.
The World Series is on the air. This is Ty Tyson broadcasting the play-by-play description of the third game of the 1936 World Series from the Yankee Stadium, New York.
Despite the emphasis of NBC News to commit to the journalistic principles of accuracy, impartiality, and objectivity, political leanings and the goal to entertain can sometimes lead to allegations of unreliability and bias. In one instance, NBC had to cancel the show Megyn Kelly Today after she suggested that white people dressing up in blackface for Halloween was appropriate. Because you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Back when I was a kid, that was okay, as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
I defended the idea, saying as long as it was respectful and part of a Halloween costume, it seemed okay. Well, I was wrong, and I am sorry.
Similarly, in 2012, NBC issued an apology for broadcasting an edited version of the George Zimmerman 911 call, which inaccurately suggested racial motivation and significantly shaped public perception of the incident. George Zimmerman, serving as a neighborhood watch captain, placed a 911 call on February 26, 2012, reporting a suspicious person. The individual in question was Trayvon Benjamin Martin, a 17-year-old African-American visiting his father. Zimmerman later shot and killed Martin, asserting self-defense. Despite presenting head and nose injuries with visible bleeding, suspicions arose regarding the possibility of racial motivation behind the crime. These suspicions were fueled and disseminated all around the country by news media outlets that failed to maintain objectivity in their reporting. However, on July 13, 2013, a 6-woman jury rendered a verdict of not guilty for Zimmerman. In another occasion, NBC nightly news host Brian Williams hyperbolized his recounting of his travels in a helicopter during the Iraq War. Initially, he had explained that he was in one of the helicopters that were attacked by enemies. Later on, various military veterans who were present contested the reliability of the story. While Williams was traveling in a helicopter during the war, his helicopter took off 30 minutes after the attack. Faced with these allegations, he presented a public apology. 6 months later, he was suspended from NBC News for misrepresentation during his coverage of the Iraq War.
I want to apologize. I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire. I was instead in a following aircraft. I hope they know they have my greatest respect, and also now my apology.
Finally, NBC generally uses headlines and decides to cover stories that align moderately with the left. This is evident in some headlines like, "Trump threatens border security shutdown, GOP cool to idea." Despite occasional controversies and instances of perceived bias, NBC News has maintained its status as one of the leading and influential news networks in the U.S. The network's commitment to journalistic integrity and accuracy has been shown in occasions such as the suspension of Brian Williams and of Megyn Kelly Today. In others, the success of the news channel is reflected in the awards it has earned. In 2022, NBC News earned the Murrow Award for overall network excellence, while NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt secured victory in the newscast TV network category. This is not to say that NBC has not had to deal with competition. Historically, two of NBC News' significant competitors are ABC News and CBS News. Together, these three networks are often referred to as the Big Three in American broadcast television news. Additionally, cable news networks like CNN and Fox News also serve as major competitors in the 24-hour news cycle, where they often cater to specific political perspectives. CNN and Fox alike have instigated backlash against NBC News. In 2023, CNN released an article criticizing one of NBC's most familiar faces, Kristen Welker. Welker has served as co-anchor of the Weekend Today show and is known for her work as the NBC News White House correspondent. As such, the piece by CNN amply points to the disappointment that someone with such journalistic prestige would sit down to interview former President Donald Trump. In the words of the author Oliver Darcy, television executives I surveyed before and after the interview were baffled that NBC News and Welker willfully chose to take on such a fraught assignment, given Trump's notorious propensity to lie.
You have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly.
The CNN author's comments put pressure on NBC to favor liberal-leaning perspectives rather than all perspectives. In another occasion in 2021, Fox News instigated a debate over the reliability of NBC. The catalyst was a quote from Lester Holt's speech upon receiving the Murrow Award as the host of NBC Nightly News. "I think it's become clear that fairness is overrated. The idea that we should always give two sides equal weight and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in." This statement fueled discussions about journalistic objectivity and the role of news organizations in presenting balanced perspectives. Critics argued that a commitment to presenting multiple perspectives is essential for unbiased reporting, while others supported Holt's assertion, emphasizing the need to contextualize information in a rapidly evolving media landscape. In fact, NBC's former president, Noah Oppenheim, insisted on various occasions that NBC is not a network in the business of advocacy journalism. Instead, he attempted to bring back the old-school approach to journalism, where the mission of a news organization was to illuminate the truth and the facts.
Investigative journalism is really the lifeblood of NBC News. Original journalism, broadly speaking, we want to bring them original material that they can't find anywhere else.
Oppenheim took over the presidency of NBC after NBC News chairman Andrew Lack was forced to step down. This came after he had been in charge during the 2017 scandal, where NBC News decided not to broadcast Ronan Farrow's Dark Me Too report on Harvey Weinstein.
I think it was clear to all of us from the beginning how significant this was, what a deep vein of untold stories we were tapping into. This was not just a story about Harvey Weinstein or a story about Hollywood. This was about a set of systems used to silence survivors of sexual abuse.
Nevertheless, Oppenheim was announced to be replaced in 2023 by a new head of editorial and two other executives. Although the Weinstein scandal came to light in 2017, Oppenheim had to continuously guide NBC News through it. Similarly, he was in charge when Matt Lauer, the co-anchor of Today, was fired over allegations of sexual assault and harassment.
As I'm sure you can imagine, we are devastated, and we are still processing all of this. And I will tell you right now, we do not know more than what I just shared with you. But we will be covering this story as reporters, as journalists. I'm sure we will be learning more details in the hours and days to come. You know, for the moment, all we can say is that we are heartbroken.
Nevertheless, on Oppenheim's account, the reason for his stepping down was his desire to write and produce movies. The evolution of bias within NBC News is a nuanced phenomenon that reflects the dynamic nature of media in our society. Whether driven by changes in leadership, societal shifts, or the demands of the evolving media landscape, the transformations have not gone unnoticed. It is imperative for news consumers to critically assess and understand these changes. By staying informed, demanding transparency, and promoting a diversity of perspectives, we contribute to a media environment that is not only aware of its biases, but strives for fairness, accuracy, and a more comprehensive representation of the complex problems facing our world.